All right, let's talk about something that can drive us all a little crazy. That gap between what somebody says and what they actually mean. It's that confusing space that can make you question, well, pretty much everything. You know that feeling, right? You walk away from a chat and you just feel off? You keep replaying it in your head, trying to figure out what was really going on? Well, welcome to the world of mixed signals. It happens a lot more than you probably think. And this, right here, is the heart of the problem. It's like watching a movie with the wrong audio track playing. The words might be saying, "I'm fine," but the body is practically shouting a completely different story. And when those two things don't match up, our brain is left trying to solve the mystery. So to really get a handle on this, we've got to peel back the layers and understand this whole unseen language that's happening just beneath the surface of all our conversations. This unseen language, or nonverbal communication, is basically everything except the words. We're talking about a raised eyebrow, a nervous hand gesture, the way someone holds themselves, how close they stand, even the little pauses in their speech. It's this constant, and I mean constant stream of information we're sending and receiving, a lot of the time without even thinking about it. And here's the kicker. Study after study shows that the huge majority of what we communicate is happening on this nonverbal level. The words we say are really just the tip of the iceberg. And that's exactly why when we get the signals wrong, it can lead to some really big misunderstandings. Okay, so if we're constantly swimming in all this nonverbal data, why are we so bad at reading it sometimes? You'd think we'd be experts, right? Well, it turns out our brains come with a kind of factory setting that actually makes us pretty vulnerable. There's this idea called truth default theory, and it's pretty much what it sounds like. Our brains are basically wired to believe people. We just operate on the assumption that what we're being told is true, until some huge, glaring red flag pops up that we just can't ignore. It's a handy shortcut, but wow, it can leave us wide open. And the result of this trust-first mentality, we are, and I hate to break it to you, terrible lie detectors. Seriously. The average person's accuracy is only about 54%. That is barely better than just flipping a coin and guessing. So much for all those crime shows, huh? Now, you're probably thinking, this seems like a huge bug in our system. Why would we be built to be so gullible? But believe it or not, there's actually a surprisingly good reason for it. You see, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Think about it. Could you imagine if you had to fact-check every single thing someone said to you all day long? Good morning. Oh, really? Prove it. Nothing would ever get done. Society runs on a baseline of trust. This truth default is an evolutionary hack that just makes things work. It's way more efficient to just believe. But here's the catch. This super efficient system is also super fragile. It doesn't take much to throw a wrench in the works and completely scramble all those signals we depend on. Think of it like trying to get through a maze. There are so many things that can lead you down the wrong path. A thumbs up is friendly in one culture, but a massive insult in another. Your colleague might look standoffish, but maybe they're just super stressed. And some people's brains are just wired differently, meaning they process all these social cues in a completely unique way. This quote from someone on Reddit just says it all, doesn't it? It really gets to the heart of the challenge. It's not always about missing the cue completely. Sometimes you can feel that something is happening, but you have no idea what it means or how you're supposed to react. It's like hearing a language you don't speak. And then, of course, there's modern technology. Oh boy, that just throws a whole new level of difficulty into the mix. Video lag, weird camera angles, you lose so much information. And text messages, forget about it. We're trying to figure out sarcasm and complex emotions from a handful of words and an emoji. It's a recipe for disaster. So misreading a text is one thing, but what happens when the mixed signals are bigger, way bigger? What happens when they're broadcast over decades, across an entire public legacy? Let's dive into a really powerful and challenging example. So this is Swami Vishnudevananda. He was a giant. He was tasked with bringing yoga to the West, and he didn't just succeed. He built a global empire. He created the first teacher training courses, opened centers around the world, and became famous as a peace activist flying his own plane. That was the public story, the one that inspired millions. But then, years after his death, a completely different story began to emerge. Allegations of sexual misconduct, of abuse of power, stories that painted a picture of a man who allegedly used his position to cause incredible harm. And you're left with this impossible contrast. How can these two completely opposite portraits be of the same person. And that is the ultimate mixed signal. This isn't just about a weird vibe in a conversation. This is about two conflicting realities: the celebrated public hero versus the alleged hidden abuser. It's a signal so mixed that it shatters the very foundation of what people thought was true. So this brings it all back to us. When we're faced with stories that are so completely at odds with each other, what are we supposed to do? How do you even begin to decide what to believe? It really comes down to this powerful question. If the person who built something is accused of doing terrible things, can you still value what they built? Can you separate the good work from the person who did it? Or does the whole thing just come crashing down? And here's where we come full circle to that truth default theory. A situation like this is the ultimate red flag. It completely shatters our default setting to just trust. We can't passively believe the story we were told anymore. The switch flips, and now the hard work of figuring it out, well, that falls right on our shoulders.
And that's really the final thought, isn't it? We live in a world that is just overflowing with mixed signals in our everyday conversations and in these huge, complicated public stories. Maybe the goal isn't to become a perfect human lie detector. Maybe it's just about recognizing our natural tendency to believe and then knowing when it's time to hit pause, ask the tough questions, and do the hard work of deciding for ourselves what's real.